This is Jonathan Aguilar here for Pro Boxing Fans, joined by former three-weight world champion and talkSPORT pundit Duke Mckenzie, MBE. Duke, it's been a while since I've spoken to you, but how's life treating you?
Yeah, Jonathan, I'm doing really well, thanks, champ. As I mentioned, I've got two beautiful granddaughters, and on Monday I had the pair of them for the first time together, I'm blessed. That's all I can really say. It's a blessing. It really is. They're beautiful, and the younger one, who's only like just over a year, she's like 15 months. She ate as much as the elder one, who's four now. She ate as much as her. I mean, they did. They literally ate me out. Well, do you know what? We ate out. Well, I ate myself out of house and home. When they start eating, I start eating. Do you see what I mean? It was beautiful. So I'm living a bit of a dream with that, as far as that's concerned.
Glad to hear it. And of course, I'm sure you would have seen. Well, I don't know if you actually would have. I'm sure you've heard about it. What happened on Saturday in the Misfits card? Darren Till beating Luke Rockhold, and then this whole madness of Carl Froch, him confronting Carl Froch. Carl Froch then saying, "Well, maybe I'll get back in the ring. Let's see what the numbers are like, etc." What's your thoughts on it? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it, and what can I say? Listen, ultimately, Carl Froch is his own man. Would he do it? Sincerely doubt it. Does he need to do it? Sincerely doubt it. Does he want to get more interest for his own YouTube station? Yeah. So he can talk about it all he wants. It's a great PR. It's a great PR job, isn't it? And Carl Froch knows what he's doing. He's a wise man. Would he really want to fight again at the age that he's at? I doubt it. If I was a gambling man, my money would be on Froch. You know, if it's a boxing fight, my money's on Froch. If it's not a boxing fight and they go to whatever the other guy specialises in, then he wins that. Do you see what I mean? Guys like these YouTubers, misfits guys, they really should learn to stay in their lane because it's going to take a fatality in the sport of boxing. I promise you, from one of these flipping idiots that calls out a boxer, and at some point, some boxer's going to bite, and they're going to get seriously hurt. So let's just hope that's not the case. But that's what I could see happening.
Mm. I mean, Carl's been out the ring 11 years. Uh, do you remember, when you were fighting, say, 10 years after you retired, how you felt? Did you feel like you have had the itch to come back? Did you, do you remember how you felt sort of 10 years after you retired?
Yeah, I've never had the itch to make a return to boxing. When your numbers up, it's up. And I did one charity thing for a friend of mine once, and it was only like one round of an exhibition. The late Eric Guy, he did a boxing event many many years ago,
Hmm.
and I did one round on this exhibition, and I swear to God, I've never watched it because I was so embarrassed. Honestly, when I got into the ring, do you know what? I thought I was looking at my dad. It was. I looked old. I looked rickety. My skin's dead. My skin's droopy. There's no snap on your punches. But I mean, it was only an exhibition, and it was one round. And I couldn't wait to get in and to get out of there. But it was for a good cause. I think it was for like cancer research. That's why I agreed to it. But he hounded me for about a year, before I actually agreed to do it. So, but listen, I'd never do that again. I'd never do that again. You couldn't pay me. Well, no, tell a lie. You could pay me enough to do it again.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because, I guess in Carl's position, potentially there's a lot of money at stake here with this Darren Till fight, potential pay-per-view. Do you think he's thinking about that element, or do you think genuinely this is just a complete publicity stunt?
Oh, just a complete publicity stunt. Carl Froch is a very intelligent individual. He's not stupid. And I would seriously doubt he would want to seriously get back into the square circle. It's not really his game. He's not thick. Just what I mean. He's a very, very intelligent man. I've only met Carl Froch a handful of times. I don't really know him per se. But what I will say is the Carl Froch of yesteryear, that's gone. He's not that man anymore. He's probably more of an animal now. Carl Froch, he reminded me of a bit of a caveman when he was fighting because he didn't have no skill about him, but he would fight you till he couldn't fight anymore. I did a couple of his fights back in the day, the Jermaine Taylor fight being one of them. I think I did that for BBC Radio 5 Live. And he was as near as damn it. Jermaine Taylor was beating the living daylights out of him. I don't know how well you remember the fight. and he was on the verge of getting stopped several times in that fight, Froch. But he's got a heart as big as a bucket, and he hung in there and hung in, and then he ended up turning around and knocking Jermaine Taylor out, which is probably for me his career best victory. So once a fighter, always a fighter. The last thing you lose is your punch. I wouldn't call out Carl Froch if I was that guy.
Mm. It's been sort of an interesting few weeks, when it was announced that Jake Paul will be fighting Gervonta Davis. We thought it might be Joshua. Now it's
Yeah.
Tank. It's kind of the opposite ends of the weight classes. What was your reaction when you heard it was announced? It is an exhibition, of course. Well, that's the reports.
Well, first of all, Jake Paul, if he's fighting a small guy like Tank, then he's got a bully boy mentality. He wants to fight a small guy because he knows he can probably handle a small guy. Probably thinks the smaller guy can't hurt him, or indeed knock him out, or anything like that. So again, it's another sort of a publicity stunt. That they're going to fight. Don't get me wrong, and it's going to do probably huge numbers, I would imagine, given the popularity of Paul, and I don't really know where Gervonta Davis is going, because at one point I had him down at being probably the best fighter on the planet at one point, but he seems to have lost his way quite alarmingly. And that's probably the more worrying thing, the more shocking thing, that his heart's actually gone out of the sport of boxing and he's looking to cash in. Can you blame him? Not at all. You can't really blame him. He'll probably earn more for the Jake Paul fight than he would in fighting a regular contender. So it's probably easy money. I would imagine Tank being the kind of guy that he is, and he's highly wired. I can imagine once that bell goes, the scripts will probably go out the window and he'll probably go and chin Jake Paul.
Eddie Hearn said to Sky the other day that, now that Jake Paul's off the table, they still want quote unquote warm up fight before potential Fury fight. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But Eddie ruled out Usyk, Dubois, I believe Bacoli, a load of names he basically ruled out. Where does Joshua go, and what do you think the plan is for him?
Plan for Anthony Joshua, he's got to fight an also ran. If he fights anybody in the top 4 or 5, then it's lights out again. I believe he's very, very fragile from a mental perspective, Anthony Joshua. So they've got to try and rebuild him. How do they rebuild him? Like I say, can't put him in with a live wire. Forget Caballero, forget Dubois, forget Bacoli, forget anybody that's going to throw punches back at Joshua right now is going to give him nightmares, because, like I say, I think he's quite fragile from a mental perspective, given what Dubois did to him. So that means they've got to look outside the top 10, probably the top 15, and get him somebody just to roll over. Now, the problem with that is when you fight a guy that's not up to scratch, or at least on paper, he's not up to scratch, speaking from experience, you come down to their level. If Anthony Joshua comes down to somebody else's level that's not even the top 15 and they end up chinning him, his career's finished. So right now, he's in no man's land. So they may wait for Usyk to fight Parker. If he fights Parker, obviously he'll beat Parker, then I think Usyk will retire. Anthony Joshua could fight for a vacant title sometimes next year, but then he might have been out of the ring for maybe like a year and a half, which would do him no good whatsoever. So he's stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea right now, because if he fights, he runs the risk of getting beat. Because anybody that Anthony Joshua fights, they're going to be up for it. Big time, they're going to be up for it. Even if it is a so-called no-hoper, quote unquote. So he's got to be very, very, very careful. He's damaged goods, and it happens to so many fighters, that get to the top of the tree, then you're not top of the tree, and that climb back up to the top, boy, it's a steep climb. And some guys don't make it back. Anthony Joshua may never make it back.
You mentioned Parker just then. It's reported that he's going to fight Fabio Wardley, a guy you've sort of been a big fan of for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
October 25th. What do you make of that fight?
Well, sadly for Wardley, he's been exposed now. In his last fight, which I'm sure you saw,
Mhm.
he was badly exposed. Fabio Wardley's a puncher, nothing else. He can't box, but he's a good puncher. I really thought he could have added to his game. I really thought he was going to be the one to give Usyk a really good fight. But listen, I was wrong. So where does Fabio Wardley go from there? I mean, listen, if they make the Parker fight, then I don't think it ends too well for him because Parker's too experienced for him. He's too wily. He's too clever. Parker's sort of had this resurgence now where, since he's been back on the scene and he's got a new coach and one thing and another, he's looked half decent, Joseph Parker. He's jabbing, he's moving, he's got a massive overhand right, which he's become very reliant on. And nobody seems to have found a way just to get out of the way or block that shot up until now. So I don't think Fabio's going to beat him. I don't. It's not. Oh, listen, Fabio Wardley's got to fight whoever they put in front of him because he doesn't really have a choice. He wants that world title, Fabio Wardley, and he's shown in the Hoodie fight that he can bang. He's a good puncher, but outside of the punching power, there's not a lot left to his game.
Last one on the heavyweights. Lennox Lewis was asked yesterday about Moses Itauma whether he should fight Oleksandr Usyk. Lennox said it's way too soon. Just wait till Usyk retires and then you'll get your opportunity. Do you agree with that? Would you throw Moses in with Usyk or would you continue to build him up?
He needs building. You can't go. Nobody can go near Usyk. It doesn't really matter who it is at this current crop of heavyweights. Nobody touches Usyk. Everybody knows that. And if they want to ruin that kid, then put him in with Usyk, which they won't because they're smart people. His handlers. Then they built him this far, and he's like the Atuma is. Nobody wants to fight him. They've made him the president of the Who Needs Him club right now, but there are fighters out there who'll give him a fight. That Hooney's one of them. He'll give him a good fight. You got Caballel, who's another one who you know what? I don't want to see Moses get beat. I don't. I struggle pronouncing his surname, so I call him Moses. Yeah. I don't want to see him get beat. I want to see him win. I'd love to see that kid go on and become heavyweight champion of the world within the next probably 12 to 18 months. But he's not ready. He's not ready to become world champion right now. He's like I say, he's not going to be Usyk, but I think that's more of a publicity stunt to get his name mentioned amongst the big boys. So that if and when the titles do become vacant and valid, he can step into the shoes and potentially fight for a vacant title. I think Josie Parker gives him life and death at Moses Itauma as well. Like I say, Caballel, Hooney, there's 4 or 5 there who would beat him right now, in my opinion. I'm not looking for the kid to get beat. I just want to make that clear. I would love to see him go on, remain undefeated, win the world title. When you start calling out Usyk and all the other big boys, and this boy's only had a handful of fights, never been past the third round or second round in a fight, you don't know how he's going to respond when he gets to the 7th round, when he hears the 9th round, then it's the 11th round. If he gets to the 12th round, where he is right now, has he got the stamina? I can remember being in my first 8-round fight. And I think when the referee said round 5, I had a bit of a panic attack in my own mind. I'm thinking, Jesus, ain't been 5 rounds. And I've got another 3 to go. I mean, listen, I was a fit boy then. I'm talking about when I was 22, 23, Moses' age. So your natural youth sort of carries you through if you have the ability. I'm sure he could do the same. But you still question yourself. You're still going to ask yourself that question. So, there are certain heavyweights you'd put him in against. I'd put him in against Hrgovic. He'd stand a massive chance of beating him. Even Bacoli, because Bacoli's not a fit guy. He's just a lump right now. Even Gilly J. Those sort of guys you want to be calling out because, worst case scenario, if those fights go the distance, your man's going to win, isn't he? Because he's younger, fresher, stronger, and he could do the distance with that kind of an opponent. But then when you start calling out the likes of Dubois and Usyk and Hooney or Caballel, different kettle of fish.
Mm.
Different kettle of fish. Those guys are taken to deep waters and drowning. I'm sure of that. So, but listen, I'm not his manager. I'm not his promoter. They know what they're doing. They've done a great job up until now. And I'm sure they'll continue to do so.
Just on Dubois, apparently he's going to come back maybe later this year. Who would you put him in with?
Daniel Dubois, who would I put him in right now with? probably somebody like Martin Bacoli, Gilly Jane, somebody who knows not give him a little bit of a run out, give him a little bit of a test. They're not going to beat him because I still believe he's wrong to have sacked his coach. Should have stayed with John Charles, but we don't know what Tony Sims is going to bring out in him. I don't think Tony Sims is a better coach than Don Charles. And again, Don Charles knows that his boy, he knows that boy inside out, knows what makes him tick, both inside and outside of the ropes. I'm not so sure Tony Sims is the right fit. Only time will tell.